atop the Empire State Building.
What up, everyone? It is Garrett from Elvis Duran and the Morning Show. I'm super excited. Now, if you've watched, I guess, the last almost 3 to 4 years on MTV, we've watched these people grow from what you might think is stereotypical to realizing that it's more than just who we think they are. I'm excited to have families of the Mafia, Karen and Karina. How are you? Welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
In sync too. Look, I being in unison like this. I mean, it's all about it. All right, so let's start with just the basics of families of the Mafia. I mean, I'm from Staten Island, North Shore, raised Irish and German. But 99.9% of my family and friends are Italian. I was like the 1% of Staten Island that wasn't Italian. So I've grown up around people who think they are related to people that you are actually related to, and friends that you know of. I have people that actually are, people that act like they are, people that watch 2 seasons of The Sopranos and think they're in some type of organization. From season 1, from Made in Staten Island to season 1 to where we're at right now, what do you think? Did you guys feel like you got the chemistry right for this for the season 2? Because it feels very true as I was watching it.
We took season 2 into a whole different direction. Just to kind of break down the history, Made in Staten Island was amazing. Once we started filming, we realized there was a lot more layers to the stories. So that's where we decided to add the story of the family aspect. And we started filming, and we lost a cast member while we were filming. Right. So we kind of went down, and then it went into the whole pandemic, and the producers as well as the network all came, and we realized that there are so many stories that need to be told, and we need to get it in the right direction. And that's where we came up with the concept to basically tell this as a true crime documentary style. So I like to say it's where reality TV meets documentary, because we added 2 new families, which have huge history. There's so much information and stories out there, which are the Nayfelds and the Catolos. And we kind of decided to shoot this in a way where we can really tell where the stories began, digging back deep into the history until current day life. Mm-hmm. And it all comes full circle. So I like to say, season 2 is, season 1 on steroids. We've really grown. We're all grown up now. And it's a lot more of the family dynamic. My father tells a lot more of his story, and, Karina tells a lot more of her story as an individual and where she's going on her own path now. So,
Karina, for you, like, at first, I'm sure it was cool to have like, hey, we have my own show, MTV, and then realizing that it's like, I don't want to be this. Like, I want to be me. Like, how hard is it personally for you on your journey to break away from the stereotype just of association in general?
Right. For me, it's like I'm blessed to come from the family that I do. I love it.
Of course.
I want to break the chain of, realizing the mistakes that my family has made. And I had to kind of grow up with the repercussions of it, visiting my family behind bars and, kind of the negatives. So for me, it's very important to, kind of change the path in a positive direction and make my family proud and build a name for myself, rather than just continuing to live in the shadows of, what people look at.
Assume, yeah, right. And I assume every person you meet for the first time, that's the one thing that they always go to, no matter what. Like whether it be like whatever the case, I can only imagine. So I appreciate your side of the story of saying, hey, I want to be my own person. Now, for your grandfather, for your dad, I mean, where did you even start to go? Here's what we're doing. We want you to tell the story to kind of show that this is what the old school is. This is where we want to go with it. Again, all we hear is 2nd, 3rd, 4th world stories of the old school. And how'd you get him to say, you know what, I will tell my story on MTV of all places, like something like that?
I ever thought that we'd be here on MTV.
Right.
So I first sat down with him, he knew the direction that I wanted to go with this show and how important it was for me to really capture it all. Like basically how we got from point A to point C. And, he was at first he wasn't 100% like, oh, this is what I want to do, because he wanted to be able to sit down and tell it his way.
Right.
And I had to basically break it down to him like, you have your story, you lived your experiences, you definitely need to tell it from your own voice, but also you have a family, and we've lived some of these similar circumstances that we went through because of the choices and decisions that you made, because of things that I made. So when he really started to think about it, he realized how important it was to, tell a family story. Because
Right.
you look at men and, they're gangsters, and that's what my father, is and was. But his choices affected us. And, now that I think he truly understands that, he wants to be able to share that as, a family story outside of just being a gangster.
But do the choices that your dad and grandfather made still affect you today? Even though the story's been out there, you guys have put yourselves out there saying we are not him, but do they still come back and bite you in the butt sometimes?
It'll always be a part of the background and the roots that we come from. And we have to go on in life and hold our shoulders high and, take it for what it is. And I love him as my grandfather. I don't look at him any type
Right.
of, but, as far as growing up, thank God it's been in a positive way for me, in a positive direction.
Good.
And the people around me understand I'm going in a positive path, changing, the way that.
And I think it goes where people are always going to judge you, right?
Right.
Get to know you. So it's like, I think Karina and I and other people in my family, you have to have that thicker skin and just be who we are, whether people judge us.
That's Italian skin. I married Italian, and I know it's a very thick skin.
Yeah, it's just like, it only affects
beautiful skin though. Let me
it's that olive oil. But I think that, it only affects you if you allow it to affect you.
Right.
And that's what any decision or any family, and that's why I feel like this series is so unique, because yes, my father's Sammy the Bull, but there's 4 other families on this show that have situations that are relatable because of the circumstances that they've been through or the lifestyles that their fathers or grandfathers chose.
Well, let's talk about one of the families, because please fill in the blanks. On the preview, who was crossing over? It looked like the Verrazano going, I entered witness protection, but yet he's on your show.
Yes, which is amazing in a way. That was kind of, okay, so it's Wild Bill. He was the underboss of the Colombo crime family, and he was murdered. And the guy that you see in the coming attractions is his son.
Right.
And I was not familiar with the family prior to shooting, didn't really know much about their story. I knew of the father. I knew he was friends with my father. And I knew they had a big story, but, they kind of get in and explain why they went into the witness protection program and, where they are now with the program and the experiences that they had in their lives.
Well, one would assume that they're pretty much on their way out of the program if they're going to be on a show like yours.
And that's probably safe to say that could be a good assumption.
I can only imagine the paperwork on that one, but now for you guys, what's the one takeaway you want everyone that's watching? I mean, because again, you get to tell your story as opposed to people telling your story for you. What's your story that you want to tell everyone that watches season 2?
I think that for me, one of the biggest things that was really important is explaining everything that happened in Arizona with the ecstasy case and my family. And people just assumed that, because of my father and his past history with organized crime, that he moves to Arizona and, we just became this big drug syndicate. And there's something that we're going to highlight in this story that's really going to show that, yes, we did things wrong, but sometimes things could be blown way out of proportion for people to sell newspapers and make careers. That's something that for me was the highlight of my storyline, as well as prison reform. The more that I dig deep into having a relationship with someone in prison and seeing all the experiences that people go through when they're trying to, fight to come out. It's like, once you're in there, it's really hard to get out.
Right.
So whether it's injustice, prosecutor misconduct or things like that, there's so many things that go into a case, and it's like very hard for these voices to be heard. So that was also something that, I felt very good about being able to share on the show.
What about for you, Karina?
For me, I basically want to inspire young women to kind of do what they want to do. Because at first I started off in nursing school, and I actually stopped going to school for finance. And, you know, my mom especially was very worried about that, but I wanted her to trust me that she raised, you know, she installed in my head to be a young independent hustler, like I'm learning from my whole family. So I want to continue to inspire so many people that come from such, you know, backgrounds that may have not been the best, but can change that and turn it into a positive way and shed light on that.
All right. Well, before I let you go, one question that will probably start a war amongst everyone. Best pizza in the New York area for you guys?
Known as Pizzeria on Staten Island is definitely my favorite by far.
Mine too.
Yeah.
So good. Love that.
See, I'm a Joe and Pat's boy, but again, that's just me, and this is where the fight will start and continue on. I mean, there is no right answer. It's all a personal choice. But all right, ladies, thank you so much. Season 2, cannot wait to watch, and I look forward to learning more about you guys, the stories, the new families. You got me hooked. So thank you very much for your time, and we appreciate it.
Yes, so much.
From the top of the Empire State Building.
The 100.